Part 3 of making up my panel dress pattern. At the end of part 2 we tried on the garment to check the fit. We then completed the side seams. We are going to sew the garment and lining together around the armhole. Holding the garment and lining at the underarm point, reach inside between the lining and main garment, still holding the underarm point. Then place the lining and garment right sides together at the underarm. We'll just trim off these threads. Pin at the underarm. Follow the seam up from the underarm as far as you can go towards the shoulder seam. Match the panel seam. The curve should match. Then going up the other side of the armhole up to the shoulder. Again, match the panel seam and match the curve, and continue up as far as you can. This leaves a short length of seam unstitched to finish by hand later. So using this method, I have been able to sew almost to the shoulder. All that is required is a little bit of hand stitching to finish. This seam will need trimming and clipping. So that it can be pressed flat. Press the armhole, then we will understitch as far as we can. Here I am closing the small gap in the armhole seam allowance with slip stitch. Take a look at my Sewing a Dress 2 video, which shows a different method for dealing with a narrow shoulder of a fully lined dress. Slip stitch the lining to the zip tape. Just a couple of threads of the tape. Be careful not to catch the main garment as you stitch. This will spoil the look of your zip from the right side. The hand stitching is complete, and the inside of the dress looks very neat. Now for the hem. If, like me, you forgot to fold up and baste a ½ inch around the lining hem, just undo a little stitching here and turn it up now. I've already covered in detail sewing a hem with a centre back vent. So here it is from my series Sewing a Pencil Skirt Part 3. Measure up 2 inches at the side seams and trim the seam allowance. Trim to neaten the raw edge, overlock or use the zigzag stitch, running the edge into the centre of the foot. Measure a 2-inch hem, pin and baste. Blind hem according to the instructions for your sewing machine. Most machines have a special stitch and foot. Start and stop exactly on the seam lines between main fabric and lining. Make sure you test your stitch first. The swing to the left should just catch a couple of threads of the fold. You will see this leaves us with the lining already turned up by 1 inch at the point where it meets the main fabric at the vent. We will be turning up a 1.5 inch hem all around the lining, tapering it down to meet the vent. Measure, pin and baste. You can slip stitch, catch stitch by hand or blind hem the lining hem. I'm happy machining a straight stitch. Machine, again starting and stopping exactly on the seam lines between main fabric and lining. This method is very neat for a skirt back vent. The hem is pressed, the dress is finished. Visit my website angelakane.com to download many classic sewing patterns. Here are links to more tutorials. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep up to date with the latest videos, and check out my website for sewing pattern downloads and more. Thank you for watching this series.